and welcome to the Golden Hour and the podcast Manifest to Live Life Golden. I am Golden Duffy, your host, and today we are talking about frequency. Today is going to be a scientific discussion, but also a spiritual discussion as well, because we know that when we marry these two things together, we become extremely powerful. If you are just focused on the science, I actually shared a post today in my post, and yes, I am live today. I don't go live very often. Usually it's recorded live. So I am live today, and it's exciting and it's fun to be live with people. And sometimes my schedule allows it and sometimes it doesn't. But I thought today would be a really great day to talk about frequency, because the frequency today is very, very high. I'm feeling in a very high, just a really grateful place, kind of buzzing around, just feeling. I got up super early this morning. My internal clock woke me up at like 4:20 this morning or 4:17 this morning. And I was just raring to go, kind of jumped out of bed this morning. And so I want to share this really high frequency with you so that you can get into the frequency that allows you to be powerful and create your dreams and stop creating cycles that no longer serve you. Because there's so many different ways we can live life, and knowing these laws and knowing the spiritual foundations of the laws really helps us to navigate life in a much higher place. And that's part of the spiritual awakening here. That's part of what we came here for, was to really initialize and actualize, and to understand that this is a journey, that this is a human journey, but also it is a very soulful journey where we are remembering, we're coming back to ourselves, we're remembering who we are. And that allows us to navigate life from a different place, from a place where we are not victims, where we are not powerless, and where we do not need to live in so much fear and distrust of what's happening. I do want to share a couple of things that I've just noticed recently, especially with our world landscape and what's happening in society. And, there were a couple of people that I've just seen on my Facebook feed, and I'm very diligent about this. And you can say this is, a Pollyanna way to live or whatever, but I'm very diligent about just releasing myself from those things that either make me feel a certain way that I don't want to feel, or make me focus on something that is not going to be in my highest and best interest. And because of that, I really feel like if you're a leader in this arena, if you've been brought here as a spiritual leader, or as, any sort of leader in the world where people are listening to you and they're being influenced by what you say, I would just, say, just really take that as a real honor and as a responsibility. And if you're getting wrapped up in the muck and the mire and the lower density frequency stuff, which is like the politics and all the things that are going on in the world, you're not going to be able to be in the elevated place where you can actually influence people from a higher vibration. So as much as, they say we should be paying attention to things, we have to fight, we have to do this. We live in an inclusion-based universe. So nothing is excluded. Anything that we're trying to exclude, we're including it. So anything we're fighting against, we're actually creating more of it, because that's the vibration and the frequency that we're sending out. So the more you fight, the more you argue with people, the more dissension, the more we separate, all of that stuff, it ends up making us, not unified. And if we're not unified, right? Like, what's the saying? Divided we fall. United we conquer, divided we fall. So I would really caution you, if you are in a leadership position, which we all kind of are in a leadership position in our lives, especially, if you just being an influencer, just talking from confidence, just being in that power, I would caution you to stay out of the muck and the mire, because it doesn't really lead to really good or healthy, high frequency living. And that maybe you're here for the lower, denser frequencies. I don't know. If you are, you're probably not listening to the show. Let's be honest. I had an interesting thing happen yesterday that is bringing up this conversation. I promise this has to do with frequency that I'm talking about, because right now, if you lower your frequency into worrying and stressing and fighting what's happening in this arena, the political arena, the world arena, if you do that, maybe there's a place for that in your awakening. Maybe that's part of your awakening. So I'm not going to say that you're wrong for looking at it, that you're wrong for focusing on it. But for me personally, I just do not. I got wrapped up into it a couple of years ago, and I was like, that is not my place here. That is not where I am going to shine here. So if you're shining there, okay. If it's giving you purpose, if it's giving you fulfillment, if you're feeling powerful, if it's all positives, yay. But if you're in the negative and you're angry and you're frustrated and you're fighting against, you're just going to create more of that. So I was in the grocery store yesterday, and I was checking out. I went into the line, and I checked out with this older gentleman who is just a sweetheart, and I just love him. And I just felt compelled to and I do this mostly because with everyone I pretty much meet, I'm just like, how's your day going? Like I care. I just care. Like, how's your day going? And just kind of see what kind of interaction and communication and connection we can have. I know I've told you guys before, sometimes that's like my only outside world connection besides social media during the day. So he said, people are really angry. People are really on edge right now. And I was like, really? Like, I'm not experiencing that. So I'm just like, really, like, what's going on? And he said, there was this woman, and she wanted to know who I was voting for, and she wouldn't stop. Like, she just kept saying, I need to know who you're voting for. And I'm like, that's a very personal question, to be asking a total stranger. And she said, they got the manager involved, and she was like, I need to know who I'm dealing with here. Like, almost like she wouldn't shop there if they weren't going to vote the same. And he really got into it. And he said he felt like she was going to come over the thing to, come at him. And he just felt really just like it was violent. Like, it was a violent, aggressive interaction. And I could feel it in his energy field that it really affected him. And, I said, well, I really work to not pay attention too much of that stuff, like to focus too much. I go, but social media can be challenging because it's on your feed. And he was like, yeah. And if you turn on the news, and I go, oh, I never do that. I never turn on the news. And so I said, well, let's try to get rid of that. And I just kind of started doing this, like waving my arms, and he just loved it. And I was like, let's just get that out of here. Get that energy out of here. You don't need that. And he's like, yeah, let's just get some sage and start burning it. And I thought that was so great that he was aware of that there is an energy field around him, that he has the potential to just kind of wave it away, to get it out of his field. And I left there feeling very high, like in a higher frequency than I had even been when I walked into the store. And I thought, wow, like, it's so powerful. And I felt like I could feel that I made his day, that we shifted it together. You can't shift someone that's not in the arena of shifting, that's not in the capacity to shift. But I definitely felt him shift with me. And, and that felt like so much more valuable than what that other woman was doing. It just felt so much more purposeful. So just be aware of where you're spending your attention and how it's making you feel. Because if you're focusing on a lot of that, and it's creating a lot of fear and a lot of angst and a lot of anger inside of you, then that is worth looking at. That is worth sitting down and journaling and saying, what is this bringing up for me? And what place does it have in my life? What is it serving in my life? Like, what is it serving? I had a couple people the other day who commented on a very positive post that I had put up in one of my local groups. And they were just like, nice thought, but with all this stuff going on in the world, there's just no way. And I thought, what purpose are you fulfilling by putting that on my post? Like, my post is there as positivity and love and appreciation and to shift people. What purpose is yours doing? Is, what are you adding to the world by doing that? I just, man. So I did respond, and that was my response, actually. And I don't normally actually respond to negative comments. In fact, I block the person and hide them. And the reason why I do that, and maybe I won't always be able to do that because it may get too crazy to even pay attention to that, it actually isn't me paying attention to it. It's me taking my power back. It's like, no, you're not going to do that. And you probably are, you're just not in the vicinity. You're not in the frequency of my post. I'm not even sure why you're seeing my post, right? Kind of strange that they would even see it. But maybe it's just part of my expansion and growth. And maybe someday I won't even look at it or notice it. But I feel like I just don't even want any tainting of the posts that are there because they are so special. So just to share about my posts a little bit on Facebook and Instagram, and if you sign up for my email, if you subscribe to my website, www.livelifegoldyn.com, I will send them to your inbox. And I've gotten pretty good about doing that every day. But my posts are something that I really don't take lightly. It's something that I do every single morning. I just get a message that comes through me and I share it and I trust it. I trust it as divine energy. I trust it as God speaking through me. I trust it as my expression in the world that I am allowing to reach other people to help elevate the collective consciousness. We are here to elevate. We are not here to be in these lower frequencies where we kind of many of us at times in our life can get in this place where we're in these lower frequencies, and that's okay. I mean, that's part of the human condition, is the scope of our emotional field. So it's okay if you're in a low frequency. In fact, if you can be in a low frequency and accept it and be okay with it, you're probably not going to be there for very long. So when we're fighting it, when we feel like we're stuck, when we're, just harboring it, when we're harboring those energies, a lot of things can go haywire internally. That's where dis-ease comes from. Dis-ease, you're not feeling ease. So just take a look at that and ask yourself, when you are in these lower frequencies, like, is this necessary? Do I need to be here right now? Is this part of my growth? Is this part of something that I need to experience to grow from the contrast or the challenge? Because there is that going on, absolutely. And I've experienced much of that in my life, where there are times when I'm just off and I don't feel right. And I don't even, oftentimes don't even know why. I like to blame it on the planets or the moon, or, there's some days that you're just exhausted. You're exhausted with life. Life is relentless. We're all going through this together. We're all navigating this together. And if you can give yourself a break sometimes, if you can take a nap, if you can meditate a little bit more. Yesterday, I had some extra time. Actually, this week, I've had some extra time to just do some extra meditations. And that has felt really good, because my normal MO, and many of us, this is our normal MO, when we have extra time, is to try to fill it and to be productive. And if we're not productive, then we feel guilty. So I'm working on just being present, slowing down a little bit, not needing to always be producing something, and kind of letting myself off the hook in some ways, where I'm not just like going all the time, because there's ebbs and flows in life. And if we're constantly going, we're going to burn out. So it's really the presence, the being there, the just sitting, the staring at a wall, whatever it is, just allowing yourself to be. It helps you to foster a deeper relationship with yourself, because you're not running from anything. You're not running from your emotions. You're not trying to get away from the way you really feel inside, but you're actually facing yourself. And when you do that, when you face things like boredom or contemplation or all of those things, that's when you expand and grow even more. So like, many people think like, I've got to study and I've got to be spiritual and I've got to do all these things. I mean, even going to like the Catholic religion, the way they would do the rosary, and they would just, repeat this mantra over and over again. That was a type of meditation. It's a meditation. It's a prayer. It's a letting go. It's being in the presence, right? So there's a lot of different religions that have different ways of doing this, but we were never really meant to constantly do. And I think in our society right now, with social media, with our phones, with our computers, we are forgetting this. We are forgetting that we need time to be, and to be alone, and to be in nature, and to be with ourselves, to actually get to know this other part of this, the energetic part of it. All right, so frequency. Let's take frequency. Okay, so imagine, I know I've shared this before, but this is like kind of my favorite analogy. There's two different analogies that I really like that help me to get the vision of how this whole thing works. Maybe three. There's three because I have this wave behind me. So, frequency, if you can imagine like your TV or your radio, when you turn on a certain channel, there's a frequency that is broadcasted to you. You can flip the channel at any time and get a different station. Now, when you're on a station, it doesn't mean that the other stations don't exist, right? They're still there. You can flip in any moment and get a different station, but those stations are not relevant to you because you're not paying attention to them. You don't have your focus on that frequency. So our moods, our state, our whole way of being, right? Our essence, who we show up in the world is based on a frequency. And that frequency is based on what we're focused on up here, like what our attention is focused on. It's very easy for us to get into something that I like to call business mode, which is where you are not being present. You're running through life, you're running through your to-do list, and you're not being present to people. I had a little exchange yesterday at CVS, me and all my stores, with a gentleman who worked there, and he walked by me and he said hello, and I said hello, and I looked him in the eyes and I smiled and I said, "How are you?" And I felt presence. So, how often are we doing that? Like, how often are we really connecting with people and being present? And I felt like he was surprised by it because he's probably used to people just running into CVS, running out, not even noticing he's there. So, this human connection is so important when we're talking about frequency. We can influence other people's frequencies negatively or positively. So that is really important to understand as well. And I have another example on that. But let's get back into this frequency example. So you're on the radio station and you've tuned your dial. Let's say you just woke up, it's first thing in the morning, and you've decided, and I used to do this all the time because I didn't really understand foundational living. And I also hadn't done the work as far as like emotional, just really getting in touch with my emotions and emotional intelligence. So you wake up every day and you're like, today is going to be great. Like today, I'm not going to yell at my kids. And today I'm going to be peaceful and I'm going to be grounded and it's going to be a great day. And then you start rolling into your day, right? You haven't meditated or anything. Maybe you don't have a practice. I don't think I had a practice back then. I mean, even if I did have a practice, the practice, if it's in that little box of like, okay, I have 20 minutes to practice this, and then you don't allow it to kind of bleed over into your day, or you're just thinking the whole time, then the meditation didn't really take it. Meditation, it creates the foundation. So if you don't have a running practice, this isn't going to be as easy for you. It may be possible, but it's not going to be as easy. So you're running through, you get up and you're like, okay, today is going to be good. And then you go downstairs and like the first thing that happens is you forget to put the coffee pot under the coffee and the coffee leaks all over. And you're just like, oh my gosh, this is not going to be a good day, right? Like instantly you're like, this is not going to be a good day. Or, your kid comes down for breakfast and they're cranky, or your spouse comes in the room and they're cranky. And then all of a sudden you're like, you went from like, I said today was going to be a good day. What happened? You were influenced by your circumstances instead of being committed to the frequency you said you wanted to be on. If your coffee pot is not under your coffee and it spills all over the place, you can still be in a good place. You can still go, oh, geez, I wasn't being present. It's time for me to be present. I've done crazy things like dropped a whole dozen of eggs on the floor and gone, yep, that's exactly how I was feeling. I was feeling rushed and crazy. Right before I got on the show today, I got my nails done. I went a little spooky for Halloween, and I walked in. I had plenty of time, but I was feeling like I got to get back for the show, right? Like that was my energy. That was my frequency. And when I walked in, my nail lady was doing a pedicure, and I was just like, she must have forgot I was coming in today. So I asked another woman there, I said, hey, would you be able to wrap my nails to take my nail polish off just because I am up against time today? And they started talking, and then she kind of came around the corner and she ended up like hitting this cart, and the whole cart fell over and everything fell off of it. The wheel broke off, the whole thing. And I was like, wow, did I just do that? Because I felt my angst a little bit that my nail lady wasn't ready. This is first world, I know. So I kind of sat back for a second. I was like, I need to chill. I need to chill out. I need to chill. And the my nail lady came up to me and she goes, I'm almost done. I just need a couple minutes, but because that happened, she's not going to do it. Like they knew it was a sign for her to not do it. And I thought that was kind of cool. So I was like, yeah, I'm good. I'm good. I'm going to chill out. And I did. And it was a great experience. And I got back home plenty of time. So you got to watch your energy. You got to watch the frequency that you're in, because if you're rushed and you're desperate and you're pushing, you're going to create scenarios that are going to make you late, because that's the frequency that you're in. So I love the radio station. I love the radio station. That whole idea of the frequency of the radio station is powerful. It's really powerful, because you can ask yourself throughout the day, like, what am I dialed into? Am I dialed into that crap I just saw on Facebook? Am I dialed into the news? Am I dialed into my child's crankiness? Am I dialed into my spouse's irrational behavior or whatever's going on? Or, you know, I have teenagers, whatever. So, or the cranky person at the grocery store or whatever. Am I letting others and the circumstances around me define the frequency I'm in? You don't have to do that. You don't have to give your power away, but you do need to have a strong foundation and a deep awareness. And the energy around you will always tell you what frequency you're in. So if you've got a bunch of rude people around you, this is like next level giving up victimhood altogether. It's being super hyper aware of how you're feeling and what you're doing. And the ego is crafty. The ego's crafty, so it can make you think that you weren't angry. But if you're flipping out, there was a foundation in there. There was something, that there was a vibration underneath that was being stifled. And, especially if you're dealing with rage or like serious, harsh emotion, that negative emotional field, there's something going on underneath it. Really needs to be paid attention to, because if you're walking around and you're feeling angry and you're feeling resentful, then that's going to present itself at the most inopportune times, and your emotions are going to have they're going to have the say. They're going to drive the car, and you're not going to have any say over your emotional field, because you didn't put in the work, you didn't put in the time. You're not really connecting with yourself to figure out what frequency you want to be in, and then clearing out the frequencies that are no longer serving you. The other analogy that I really love is the light board, imagining that we're on a big light board, and however we're lit up, and the light up is your state, your mood, your emotions are the major light up, because your emotions are energy in motion. So as you are emoting, you're sending that out, you're promoting that energy out. So your emotions are super important, and your emotions are driven by your thoughts. The cool thing is, not all of your thoughts manifest, but your emotions do. Like however you allow that to manifest in your emotional field is going to manifest in the physical. And it doesn't take very long to see evidence of it. And if you have evidence of something for a long time, like cycles that keep happening over and over again, that really bears looking at, because that means that you've got a frequency going on that you are not realizing. You are not allowing yourself to understand or realize what your frequency is. So you're kind of living in victimhood, right? You kind of got the blinders on. There's a veil over you. You're not really connecting to consciousness, because you're just running through and trying to avoid whatever those emotions are underneath. It's an internal game, you guys. It's an internal game. So then the last one that I love to talk about is this wave behind me, and that's the quantum wave of creation, the quantum wave of creation. And the cool thing about the quantum wave of creation is it's really based on what you're thinking and what you're believing, which really does create emotion. It really does create how you think and believe, really does manifest emotion. Because if I believe, I actually heard this thing on Instagram yesterday, and it was like, when you're working out, if you say really powerful words to yourself, you're going to get stronger. If you say really negative words to yourself, you're going to get weaker. So I thought that was so interesting, because you're literally talking to yourself. You're telling yourself what you believe, and that manifests as this quantum wave. It manifests as evidence in your muscles. Your inside your body responds to that, just like the external responds to that. So your belief systems are really important in what you say. So many people think like everything's based on our subconscious, and I don't get too into the subconscious. I do believe there's like things running underneath that we can connect with, but when people say subconscious, I think it's not helpful if you don't think you can access it. Like that puts up a block and a limitation to our progress. So we don't want to do that. We just want to spend time in meditation, quieting our mind, connecting with who we are, and becoming super aware of what's going on around us. And anytime that we're not in awareness, that's an invitation to look at something. Because if we're not present and we're running through things and we're really not paying attention, then things are going to start falling apart in front of us. And then we're going to go, oh, hang on a second. I need to get back to what frequency am I in? I need to get back to my awareness. I need to get back to presence. And that's what actually creates a better experience for you. I love the wave analogy too, because there were these two scientists, and one wanted to prove that energy came out in waves, and the other one wanted to prove that it came out in particles, and they both proved themselves right. So the fact of the matter is that we can change the energy field by our beliefs. It's a signal that we're sending. And that signal that we're sending is super duper important, because if we're consistently sending a signal that this isn't going to work, that our life isn't going to work, that our relationship isn't going to work, that whatever we're trying to create isn't going to work, if we're sending that signal, then we are literally putting a wrench in our own plans. And why would we do that? Why would we want to do that? A lot of the reasons that we do this is because we were kind of taught this way. We were taught to have a plan B. We were taught that plan A wasn't going to work. We were taught to be prepared for disasters. And in all of that, we set ourselves up for a frequency for things not working out for us. It's kind of bonkers. It's bonkers, right? So we've got to get back to our truth, to realizing who we are, to realizing that we have the power to change things, to realizing that everything that we are going through is a navigation process for our evolution. Once you realize that, there really is no mistakes. You can't make a mistake, because trying things, like being inspired to try something and then going and trying it and it doesn't work out the way that you had hoped that it worked out, gives you more of a lesson than if it actually worked out. It gives you more awareness. It gives you more progress than if it just eased and flowed and was like super, like okay, right? We're not here to just be okay. We're here to thrive. We're here to get out of the struggle. We're here to get out of survival mode. We're here to understand that this is a journey that we have power over. So I also shared about, it's funny because I've been thinking a lot about this. I had a little situation recently with some very Christian people, and I'm not saying anything bad about Christians. Some very Christian people, and we were doing this wedding ceremony, and and this gentleman asked my husband if he was a pastor, and my husband said, oh no, we got ordained, and we just really wanted to be able to perform wedding ceremonies. And it changed the way this man treated us. And I noticed, and he didn't actually say anything about the wedding ceremony or come up. Like, he basically kind of avoided us after that, him and his wife, who we had had a nice conversation with before he knew this. So I started thinking about it, and I was like, there's so many people out there that believe that what we're doing is like new age, that what I'm teaching is new age, and that it should be rejected because it goes against the laws of the church or religion or whatever. I started thinking about this because when I came to this, I was very Catholic. Like we were in a Catholic church. And when I started hearing and studying law of attraction, I backed away from God for a while because I was confused. I was like, wait, what? Like it never made sense to me that God was playing puppet with my life when I was begging him to help me. It just, none of it ever made sense to me. I just said, there's got to be more than this. Why would this be set up this way? I don't like for us to, I don't get it. I just didn't understand it. So through my study and through even looking at different scientists who have come to the idea that the deeper they got into the science of energy and how creation works, the more they found out there was something unexplainable. Like the more they understood that there was this energy, that there was this intelligence that went beyond what we can see and understand in this physical world. And understanding that is, I think at a deeper level connects me to God deeper, and it fosters my relationship with that infinite intelligence that allows me to speak to it from a different perspective than being limited in a limitation in a religion or what a church or another person is telling me. It's about my own actualization. It's about my own self-realizations. So if you are in that situation where you're in a church and you're believing certain things, that's great. I've been there. I think it's part of our evolution process. But I also would just ask you to open your eyes, like open your mind to other aspects of the world here, because there is so much more. And if we don't limit ourselves, then we live a limitless life. We live a life where we have power. We live a life where we have expression. So when it comes to that frequency of higher intelligence, that frequency of higher intelligence is going to come when you're quiet, when you're in appreciation, when you're in love, when you're loving your life, not when you're going out there trying to make things happen, trying to push the energy field. It's more in those quiet spaces. That's when you hear your intuition. That's when you connect to the divinity that you are, is when you are quiet. I was having a conversation with an awesome person this morning, and we were talking about abundance. And the notion of making money and needing to do certain things that she didn't really want to do. And I totally resonate, and I get this. But going beyond money is abundance. So most people think abundance is money, right? And it absolutely can show up as money because money is an energy of abundance. But the truth is, when we put ourselves in the frequency of abundance, money doesn't necessarily, it's not necessary, right? If you're in the frequency of that high frequency of love and appreciation and gratitude. I remember watching this show called Happiness with, I think it was Marcy Shimoff, I think her name is, from The Secret. And she did this documentary called Happiness, and they were looking for the happiest people on earth. And those people were not extremely wealthy. The happiest people on earth were not extremely wealthy. They were people who had connection. They had family. They had community. They had gratitude every single day for their lives. So that is something to really pay attention to, because fortune and fame, we have seen it across the board, does not lead to happiness. It does not lead to joy. It does not lead to fulfillment. So if that's your main focus, then that's great. But are you connecting it with your passion? Are you able to be passionate about what you're doing? Because the passion is the frequency of abundance. When you are passionate, when you're on fire for something, when you're in love with something, when you are excited to get out of bed about something, that's when that frequency can really connect for you in a way that elevates you instead of, places you in this illusion of reality. It helps you to see beyond the illusion of reality. All right, let me just tap in for a second. Yeah, the energy is very buzzy today. And I will say Monday, not so buzzy. Like I'm feeling, I didn't do my show earlier this week because the energy was not right. I wasn't feeling, not right. It just was lower. Like I was in this lower place of feeling really tired and not feeling like promoting an energy of frequency, right? Because this is a frequency. You've tuned into this channel. It's a frequency. So I wanted to be in the right frequency to do the show about frequency, if that makes sense. So I do have an email. I did get an email this week, and I'm just going to share it. I won't share the person's name, but I did want to initialize this on the show, because I did say last week that if you do have stuff you're working on and you want to reach out, freaking awesome, because I will talk about it in the show, because I feel like a lot of us are in the same place in life, and being able to share where we are helps someone else. It always helps someone else. In fact, my posts every day, people will say, this is exactly what I needed to hear. We are co-creating this. So this show is being co-created as well. All right. So this is the situation. This person is working on a job that she does not like. And she said she's embarrassed to admit this. And I will say it's been a few years that she's been in this job that she doesn't like. And it's been a constant, like, life-sucking situation where she feels stuck. Now, in the stuck conversation, the frequency of stuck, usually your frequency of stuck is only based on your neural pathways. You're never stuck, because the law of transmutation of energy is everything is always moving. We are always changing. Our cells are literally replenishing like every 7 days. We are always, always, always moving. What keeps us in a pathway of stuck is the belief that we are, and the neural pathway, the loop that keeps going over and over again. You have the potential to get out of it at any moment. And you may think that your fears are keeping you from doing this. This was also part of my conversation this morning that I loved, was that your fears you're making progress with those fears. So your fears that show up, if you're like terrified to do something, don't do it, because the shit's going to hit the fan. Like, if you're terrified, like really terrified to do something, it's never good to do something in that energy field, because you'll just manifest what you are afraid of. So working with your fears, looking at them head on, seeing what's the worst case scenario. I love to look at, as much as you don't want to set yourself up in this vibration of looking at your fears and saying the worst thing that could happen, dissipates them. It absolutely dissipates them, because you can always take another pathway. If what you're doing didn't work in the way that you wanted it to, there's always other options. And letting go of something that it has not been working for a long time is going to help something else open up. Things are going to come to you because you let that thing go. That is universal law. Okay, so she's been working this job, and she's working for two different people. One is great, the other one is not. So she started working for this guy in January, and her gut told her not to work for him because he was a demanding jerk, but she continued for the money. And then 2 weeks ago, he said he couldn't pay me because his business is slow, but he wants to start again next month. To me, this was a sign to get rid of this guy and to look for something else. This is what I want to do, but I'm terrified because I don't know what else to do. This has kept me stuck in the same for many years. I have so many ideas for getting back into my health coaching, but with all the changes in technology, I don't even know how to implement programs or where to begin. I reached out to a health coach that I follow on Instagram and asked for a conversation to create a start. When I found out that he wasn't going to pay me, I thought to myself, this is not and is not working for me anymore. So I'm going to let it go and trust that something better is out there. That all sounds and feels great. But when I start looking for jobs, I get sick seeing the jobs that are available for someone, and working retail nights and weekends just isn't what I want to do. So, wow, like there's a lot to unpack there. But I will say, if it's not working, letting it go is going to be so good. But the word terrified, you have to work on that first. Because if you're super terrified to do something, you're going to manifest what you're terrified about unless you look at it first and you go, what's the worst case scenario? The worst case scenario is that I let this guy go, my income goes down, and I find something else. because the universal law is a vacuum. You have to find something else. Something has to replace that because it's a vacuum. It wants to create energy. So when you get rid of the yucky energy, the good energy has room to come in for you. So I would take a look at the fears. I would journal about it, look at what you're really truly afraid of, and then powerfully go back to it and say, what would I love to do? I don't necessarily know if health coaching online is going to be something you're passionate about either. Like, we look at all these people that are doing this stuff online and we think, oh, they're making all this money and it's great and they're hardly ever working, and baloney. People that are making a lot of money online have put a lot of work in to do that. And they figured a lot of things out. And maybe they've spent a lot of money figuring things out or hiring people to help them. It's not as easy as everyone's making it look. I am definitely aware of that. So, what's going to fuel my passion? What's going to bring me to really loving life? What's going to get me out of bed in the morning where I feel excited about what I'm doing? I was actually thinking about the health coaching thing, and I was thinking, I wonder if there's somebody in the area that's doing like food prep for people, like healthy food prep for people that you could connect with, that you could partner with, or if that's an option for you. A lot of people are doing these food services now. So there's a lot of different avenues that you can look at. But when we get stuck in this, I have to get a job and I have to make a certain amount of money, then we're limiting ourselves to what abundance is and how it could come. If you think it can only come from one way, it can only come from one way. If you can open up your field and recognize abundance everywhere, it's going to come from all different avenues. It may not even come from you. You may let this thing go, right? You may let this thing that's not working go. And then you may realize that something else happens in your life and you're like, whoa, wait, I don't even need to go get a job, or I don't even need to get another person in here. My income just elevated because I let go of this thing that was sucking the life out of me. That happens. There's mailbox money. There's raises, there's promotions, there's a lot of different things that could happen when you let go of what's not working. And I promise you, I can make a promise to you that you're not going to go hungry and you're not going to suffer, because this is the other part of this. When you let go of the fears, when you let go of the things that aren't working, and you turn yourself in the direction towards what you want, you activate that universe. You activate that partnership, that co-creative partnership in the universe, and you activate faith and trust. When you activate those things, it has to come. It has to come. It's law, because you've put yourself in a frequency. You've sent out that wave. You're trusting. You're awake, you're aware, you're watching the energy field, you're ready for the opportunities to come. Maybe you're still looking on a line for jobs, or maybe, but if it doesn't feel good, don't do it. If all of a sudden you get an inspiration to go online to look for a job and it feels good, do it. Follow that. But if you get an inspiration to go to a different coffee shop, do that. Get yourself out there in the energy field, because energy begets energy, and that's a win. That's always going to help you to win. So there is no stuckness. That is it's a construct. It's a construct of the ego to keep us the same. That thought alone is what keeps you the same. That thought, that frequency, that radio station is what keeps you the same. So if you really want to move forward into a different place, you've just got to put a couple of things in place. This isn't like taking a huge leap of faith, although it may feel that way to you. It really is a letting go. And this whole thing is a massive letting go. It's a letting go of who we think we are, who we thought we were, I was talking today about the inner child, about who we used to be, before it was like beat out of us, before we were told that we couldn't do that, or we weren't good at that, or, before those limitations took place, before those fears took place. It's getting back to that, who we were as those confident little kids, who just like could take on the playground, take on anything. We could just do it and we didn't think about it. We didn't talk ourselves out of those things because the ego still didn't really have a hold of us. So that one thought alone, it's the shitty committee. It's the shitty committee. That's the part that is keeping you from really expanding and growing. So take a look at the whole scope of what you're going through and just ask yourself, where is my frequency in all of this? Where is it? And where do I want it to be? If I don't want to be in the frequency of fear, what do I have to do? What do I have to do? What do I have to let go of? What do I have to believe? What can I believe instead? The fears are false evidence appearing real always. And they're not here to do you damage. They're not here to make you miserable. They're here to help you expand and grow. That's always the process of getting through fears. And that's why, getting out of your comfort zone, doing the things that scare you. I shared before that I watched a show on YouTube that we love. It's called The Yes Theory. We bought a whole bunch of their merch. We have like Seek Discomfort shirts. And this woman the other day saw me wearing the Seek Discomfort shirt. And she's like, hey, wait a minute. What does that mean? And I was like, oh, it means like get out of your comfort zone, do things that scare you a little bit. And as much as I think some of that when you're doing crazy things is part of the ego, like I feel like it's part of trying to prove yourself. If you're doing it from the I'm expanding and growing piece of it, then the frequency of it is a little cleaner. You can do it the other way. It's part of your progress, so it doesn't matter. But if you're doing it from a place where it's like, well, I'm going to do this because I'm going to expand and grow from it, and I'm going to learn, and I'm going to become more, and I'm going to know things. I'm going to know more things. If you're doing it from that, then that's freaking awesome. But to do things that like scare the crap out of you, although I did move, that was scary. But I did also have a very strong foundation of faith when we did that. My husband and I both did. We really felt, we were really listening. We were really listening to being driven by that divine inspiration. There's no doubt in my mind. And although we had fears and it was scary and at times we were miserable about it, we kept coming back to the truth, which was we have to be supported. We're following our hearts. We have to be supported. Anytime you're following your heart and your passion, you are 1000% supported, without a doubt, without a shadow of a doubt. So I'm going to share my books real quick so that, actually maybe we'll do a little Russian roulette on these books. I love doing that. So we have The Perfect Unfolding for Your Soul's Expansion. And this one, you can get all of these on Amazon. And I will send you one with a personal message if you message me at livelifegolden@gmail.com. Awesome book. Somebody told me it was kind of funny. I was like, wow, really? I didn't know that. This is the science. So this is the spirituality of manifesting. This is the science of manifesting. And this is really a lot about our journey and how we manifested moving across the country. And this one is Quantum Speak for Parents. This one is all about energetic parenting. And it has a little chapter about even taking care of older parents. And then this is a journal. It has 100 pages of, it's kind of a daily guide to create that foundation for you. And then there's writing prompts in it as well to get to know yourself better, to connect in a different way with yourself so that you can start being truthful with yourself. I just put out a post yesterday about are you lying to yourself? Like, are you lying to yourself? Like how often we lie to ourselves and we say things like, we work to believe that relationships are working for us, or we tell ourselves, oh, it's okay. Like how many times have you said, oh, it's fine, I'm fine, and you're really not? That's the vibrational mismatch. When you're doing that, you have a mismatch. You're misaligning your energy field, and you can't possibly be in a high frequency when you're doing that. So getting honest with yourself, saying, is this really working for me? Like if I look at the energy field in the money that I've made in the last year, is this really working for me? The answer is probably no. If you're struggling with something, the answer is probably no. And if the money's been really good, but you're still feeling like unfulfilled and unsatisfied, then sometimes we got to take money out of the equation, because you won't be able to elevate any further if you're not happy. I mean, you may make tons of money, but if you're not happy, what's the point? What is the point, right? You can't spend yourself into happiness. I've tried. We've all tried, right? Okay. All right. So frequency. What is your frequency? Last week I had a little issue with my car, and I found myself in a frequency of being annoyed. And I went to the dealership and I created a little bit of angst for myself. And I kind of did it purposely. It was really, really interesting. And you're supposed to fill up. I get loaner cars when my car is broken, and my car being broken was ridiculous. Like I drive a brand new car. I have a huge lease payment. I thought it was ridiculous. So as I'm going to pick up my car that's ready now, they've had it for 2 weeks. Now it's ready. I didn't fill up to the exact amount that I was supposed to. And I did it because I was like, they should be paying for my gas to go back and forth, and my tolls, because I have to go on the toll road to go back and forth, because this shouldn't have happened. This is my energy. This is right. So I go in there and they're like, oh, we're going to have to charge you for this gas. And they charge you like double the amount, which is absolutely ridiculous. They charge you double the amount if you don't put gas in. So I said, oh gosh, I really feel like that's not fair. And I started to talk to them. Well, they don't have any say in anything, the people that are there. So I went and talked to my advisor, and I wasn't really, I wasn't really crazy. I understand they get some crazy people in there, but I wasn't crazy. I was adamant. Let's say I was adamant. That was my frequency. And after I left there, I said, I want my tolls paid and I want this gas paid. It was like a $30 charge. No big deal. Did it happen? Probably not. He said he was going to work it out the next day because the people had left. Did I call to make sure that he did that? I did not, because after I left, I was over it. And I thought, now, what did you do there? I started thinking about it. What did you do there? Did you make people's day better? Did you raise the vibe in the world? Did you make the world a better place? I did not. And I could be ashamed of that and not tell anybody about it, right? Or I can look at that and say, what did I do? Just like with my nail thing today. What did I do? I stressed that lady out. I think I stressed her out. I don't know if she had other things to do or what, but I stressed her out by asking her to do that. So where is our energy, and how is it influencing the field? How is it influencing the things around us? Are we being uplifters? Or are we pushing people down? Are we pushing people away? Are we not even noticing people? We have an incredible honor and a blessing to be in this life experience. Like, to be doing this together right now across time and space is phenomenal. We have a phenomenal responsibility to expand and grow, and to become more, and to share that with other people, and to live in this higher frequency, because the higher frequencies is what changes the world. It's not being caught up in the muck and the mire. Yes, there are people out there that need to go and be powerful and take their power back. That's part of their expansion and growth. But if you're listening to this, you're on a different journey. You're on a journey of spiritual realization, of understanding that we are all expressions of energy and the stream, and we affect one another so poignantly. Like, we affect one another. And that's so powerful. That is so incredibly powerful. And in that power, we affect ourselves. We can be our greatest effect. Instead of letting outside circumstances affect our frequency, we can be the frequency effectors. We can be the ones to say, hey, come down this way. This is way more fun. I'm having a blast on this ride. And some people won't be in the vicinity of it because they're not aligned in that energy. And that's okay. We're not dragging people. That's not joy. Dragging people is not joy. So, wow, holy cow, did this go by fast. I feel like I was on a really high frequency. This has been a blast. I love coming on this show every week. It absolutely just makes me feel empowered that there are people listening to this. Your messages to me are, I don't even know if you understand. Your messages to me are so gratifying, and not in a ego way, in a way that just encourages me to keep going, because I'm human just like everybody else. So just hearing that there's people that are benefiting from this really does help me to keep going, and to know, even though I don't think I could stop even if I tried. Um, we are all in this together. We are all one, and our energy affects the whole. You matter. You are important, and you are here to make a difference and to help everyone elevate in a way that only you can do it. Only you can do it. Only you can be the effect of your life experience. And because of that, you hold a lot of power, and that is super cool. All right, you guys, I love you all. I really do. And I hope that you have the greatest day and you get into these high frequencies and you come along with me, because it's way more fun when there's more of us in it. Love y'all. Peace out.